Hello everybody and welcome to another draw along video. Today's theme is the neon theme. This has been heavily requested on TikTok and Instagram and will be our subject for today. As always, there'll be a link in the description for the palette we're using today so you can follow along with the exact same colors. So let's get started by creating a new canvas. We are going to come up to the plus icon and we're going to click on this icon here and create a new canvas. So my width and my height for this particular piece will be 2500 by 2500 and the DPI is set to 300. So if we hit create, first of all we want to set our background to the dark color in the palette. So we're going to go to our layers, we're going to tap on the background color and we're going to see our palette at the bottom here. If you don't see it, tap on palettes on the right hand side and find where it is. We're going to tap on the dark black. I think it's slightly off black. We are going to start on our neon bars. So on our layer 1, we're going to go to our color picker and we're going to double tap in the top left hand corner to select white. Then we're going to go to our brush library and we're going to select calligraphy and we're going to use the Monoline brush. Before I get started, I'm going to show my settings for the Monoline brush. So this is the stroke path, and I'm going to show you the pressure, and feel free to pause and change your settings if you need to match up to mine. Shape shouldn't have changed, but I'll show it anyway. Grain also shouldn't have changed, but just to triple check, I'm going to just scroll through those, and again, feel free to pause, double check your settings, so that we're all using the same brush. Rendering, wet mix, color dynamics. Most of these should be default. Dynamics, and that should be everything. And to get to that, just double tap on the brush and it will come up with the settings for the Brush Studio. So now that that's sorted, we are going to start with our lines. So we're going to create a triangle shape, which we're going to have a planet that we did in the previous video come out of. So we're going to go to our layers, layer 1, select the Monoline brush that we just created. So we're going to start with a brush size of around about 25%. If you do your brush size too thin for the neon bars, the effect won't be as significant, but if you create them too big, it's just not going to look like a light. It's just going to be a big white blob. So 25% should be about right. I'm going to start from the center of the screen, almost like in terms of the horizontal bar, and we're going to just draw a line, and we're going to hold our pen at the end, or our finger, depending on what you're using, and we're just going to, that will create a straight line for us, and then we're just going to just sort of get the angle we want for this. We don't want to go too wide, we don't want to go too narrow, so about there should be right. So now, because I want to create a perfectly symmetrical shape, I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to slide this one to the left hand side where we get a couple of extra options, and we're going to go to duplicate. We're then going to go to our cursor icon at the top, and we're going to go to flip horizontal. So we flipped the layer that we created and duplicated. We're just going to drag it across. When you keep these blue bars, it means that you've gone perfectly horizontal and they should match up top and bottom, and we want to join this point here at the bottom. One thing that's best to do with this is just zoom in and make sure your curves of the Monoline brush link up nicely in that corner. And if we zoom back out, we can tap on the cursor and we've now created our triangle shape. We can then merge those two together with a little pinch. We're then going to create one more new layer where we're going to create the horizontal line that links the two together. And we're just going to draw a rough horizontal line and hold our finger down so we know it's perfectly horizontal. And we're just going to let go anywhere there. And then we're going to go to the cursor and we're going to just drag it where we want it. And again, zoom in to make sure your corners all nicely link up on one side anyway. And then when we zoom out, we're going to go to freeform I'm just going to drag this corner in here. And we'll notice that one side might be slightly higher than the other based on what we had beforehand. So we're going to go to our triangle that we had below, and we're going to go to the eraser, going to select the same monoline brush from calligraphy, and we're just going to erase by zooming in just that little extra detail, so like a straight line across. Perfect, and just round that corner off. And when we zoom out, we've got our triangle shape. And then again, we're going to go to our layers and we're going to pinch those two together. We're now going to get started on creating the actual neon effect. And for this, I want to make the neon glow blue. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide this layer across to the left and we're going to hit duplicate. And then we're going to go to tap on it and go to alpha lock. And then we're just going to grab our color from the top right hand side and select this first bright blue color. And we're just going to drag our color onto the triangle there. So we've got two layers. We've got one that is white, we've got one that is blue. And we need to just tap on our blue layer and turn off the alpha lock. And you simply just tap on the layer and then you get this extra menu on the left hand side. So now what we want to do with our blue layer, we want to go to our adjustments, which is the second icon. And we want to go down to Gaussian Blur and select layer as the style. And what we're going to do is you can select your blur anywhere from the left hand side, which is 0%, all the way across to the right hand side, which is 100% of the blur. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag our pen from the left hand side and you see the blue starts to dissipate and blur out. And we're going to leave it around about 10% because the blue needs to be really close to the shape. But we're going to do some extra now where if we tap on our adjustments, we finish that. We're going to go to our layers. We're going to duplicate this white layer one more time. And that new one, we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to go to adjustments. We're going to go to Gaussian Blur. We're going to go to layer again. And this one, we're going to blur out even more. We're going to go to around about the 20% mark because this one, well, let's see what we end up on. This one is the larger glow, which actually helps the blue. So we're going to leave it at 17%. And we're going to tap on our adjustments and we've got that neon glow already created. Now you'll notice I've now changed my camera settings so that you can start to see the glow as well. So we'll continue on from here. We're going to go to our layers and we've got 3 layers now, which is the whole neon shape. One thing we want to now do is we need to fill this in here in the middle, but we don't want to actually fill it in here inside this triangle. So what we want to do is we want to create a new layer above that for the moment, but we're going to then grab the white layer and drag it above. And we're going to tap on that layer and select reference. What this does is any other layers you now work on will reference the shape of this layer for when you're filling in, for example. So if when I go to layer 4 here, I go to my color picker, we're going to pick the same color as the background, which is this one here in your palette. And then we're going to get our color from the top and drag it and drop it in. Now you won't see that we've actually done anything here, but when you go to our layers, you can see we've actually now got a triangle, a black triangle that's not linked or filled in. This layer here is filled in this one. And if we tap on that layer again and turn off the reference, that's now done, because we're going to use that shortly for extra content. So we're now going to create the small planet that's going to sit just over the top section here. So we're going to create a new layer at the top. We're going to go to our color picker. We're going to double tap at the top to select white so we can see the shape that we're drawing, and we're going to continue to use the monoline brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle. Don't worry about it being perfect, just hold your pen at the end and it will create an ellipse. And if you press your finger on the screen, it will create a perfect circle, and you can go up and down just depending on how big or how small you want it. Now I want mine to touch these edges here, but not be too big that we don't have any space here left. So we're going to probably sit around about this mark. I'm going to drag in our color of white, and then we're just going to drag it down into position where we want it to sit. And that's good with me, and we'll erase this bit of content here. What we're now going to do is clear this edge here and this edge here, and we want to leave this one here because the planet is coming out of the triangle, almost as if it's a portal. So we're going to go to our layers, we're going to go to the black triangle that we created, and if we tap on it, we're going to select the option select. And what that does is it's now selected the pixels of that black layer. But what we want to do is go to here and we're going to select invert, and now it's selecting everything but that triangle. This is ideal now because we can easily go to our eraser tool, make it as large as you want, and now when we go to our white layer of the planet, we can now easily erase up to that line without having to be super precise or anything, because the program is doing it for us and making sure we stay in the lines basically. So we're going to tap on our select at the top, and that's now done. So we've got the shape that we need coming out of the triangle, and we can start adding the extra effects. We're now going to get started on creating the Liquify effect for this planet, where it makes it look slightly gassy. So we're going to create a new layer. We are going to zoom out of our canvas so we can see the whole screen. And on this layer, we're going to go to our brush library. We're going to select airbrushing, and we're going to select the soft brush at the top. And we're going to make this large at 60%. We're going to go to our colors, and we want the primary color of this planet to be this middle color here out of the three colors for the pinks and purple. So we're just going to fill the whole screen in here in that color. So now we're going to get started on filling the color in for the planet. And from here, we're going to go to our color picker, and we're going to select this one here in the palette first. We're then going to make our brush around about the 20% mark. And we're just going to put little blobs all over the screen. This is random, and make sure you put some towards the edge as well, so they all bleed into the screen. There is no right or wrong way to do this. This is the fun part. We're then going to change our color as well to the brighter pink. I'm going to make it slightly smaller again to around about 10%. I'm just going to pop these on the screen randomly like that. And feel free with the planet to do your own color palette. You can maybe make this red, you could maybe make it green. I'm just going with the blue and pinks because they contrast each other nicely. We're then going to go to our color picker. We're actually going to select white so we can drop some white blobs in there. So we're just going to make smaller circles, and these look good when you liquefy the layer afterwards because it gives some sort of cloudy effect to the planet. You can see I'm making sure to go all the way to the edges as well. So we're now going to go to our adjustments. We're going to go right to the bottom and select Liquify. So we're going to make our brush size around about the 70% mark, and you need to make sure that 12 right is the option, or you could use 12 left. And from here, if I zoom out a little bit, we're going to just bring our brush across the screen slowly, and it's starting to curve some of those colors and shapes together. I'm now going to make my brush even bigger and go to around the 90% mark, and I'm going to just hold down in the middle. And this is completely random at this point. You can do it however you wish. I like to go back and forth horizontally and then sometimes slow it down as well, so we get some like spirals in there and different shapes. Awesome. That looks great. So we're going to tap on our adjustments, which will finish what we're doing, and then we're going to go to our layer, and we're going to transform this one now. So we're going to go to the cursor tool, we're going to go to uniform because we want to keep it the same shape so that when you drag this corner down it stays as a square. We're just going to roughly drag it over the top of the circle we created. This doesn't need to be perfect, because what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our layers, and we're going to tap on this layer, and we're going to select clipping mask, and that clips it to the layer that's below. So that gassy layer now has only been shown within the circle that we created before. So we're coming along now. We just need to start adding some shading in here, extra bits of lighting, and also some stars and maybe some reflections. So from here, we're going to create another new layer, and we're going to tap on that and select clipping mask. So this is on top of the gassy layer, which is also clipped to the planet below. We're going to select black by double tapping on the color palette at the bottom. And with this one, I'm using the airbrush, the soft brush, and we're gonna start around about the 20% mark, like so. And what I wanna do is I wanna actually decrease that slightly to 10. And I just wanna blur that edge there and also this edge here. That creates that illusion that it's really coming from underneath. We're gonna fade out this edge and press lightly and then slowly build your color up by continuously going backwards and forwards on the design, like so. What we're also gonna do now is you can see that the blue glow isn't coming through and our planet is only going up to the actual white line that we initially created. So we're gonna just blur that edge out even more by going to our layers. We're gonna go to our white planet that we created and we're gonna tap on it and we're gonna select the option called mask. You need to make sure you're working on the layer mask for this layer. A layer mask means that you can erase part of the image without actually erasing it. You're essentially hiding part of that layer. So we're gonna go on our layer mask of layer 5. We're gonna go to our brush, and now anything I paint in black will disappear and anything I paint in white will reappear. So I'm gonna continue to use my airbrush with the exact same settings we had before, and I'm just gonna go and do the exact same thing. But by doing so, I'm actually erasing part of that planet. And again, do it nice and lightly so that you can build it up. Don't go in too strong. And by doing so, we now have a little bit of the blue glow coming in through the planet as well, because essentially that neon bar is on top of that planet. We're now gonna add some extra color. This is something I've been doing with my planets now, where if I create a new layer and also make that a clipping mask, I'm gonna use the primary color of the planet, which was this middle purple pink color here. I'm gonna make my brush slightly larger at around about the 20% mark. And I'm gonna just draw in a circular motion in the middle of the screen until I can build up some extra color. Now, initially it will look like it blends it out, but if we go to our layers, we can start to look through all the different layer options. And to get to that, you simply tap on the N of the layer we created, and N stands for normal. It's just an abbreviation of whichever layer setting you've got. And these different layer settings will apply different effects to every layer underneath what we just created. So that's normal, and if you scroll through them, you can see some different variations. Some make it brighter, some make it darker, some adjust the colors in different ways. And we're just gonna scroll through all the different variations so I can show you what they look like. And we're gonna go back up our list, and I'm gonna land on linear light, as I feel it brightens up that center part of the planet nicely. And the final part that we're gonna do is we're gonna add one more layer. We're gonna also make that a clipping mask at the top. So this is all being applied to just this planet. We're gonna go to our colors. We're gonna double tap on white at the top left-hand corner. And again, using the soft airbrush, we are going to just add some extra lighting at the top of this planet to contrast to the bottom half. And just nice light stroke there, just to add that extra bit of color. What we're now gonna do is we're gonna go to our layers and we're gonna go down to the black triangle that we created earlier using the reference tool. And we're gonna create a new layer and we're gonna tap clipping mask. So that everything we do will only apply to that triangle that we created underneath. So we're gonna go to our colors, and what we wanna do is add some extra glow from the blue, but only within that triangle to start with. So we're gonna select the blue color here on the second row. And with our airbrush around about the 14% mark, we're just gonna very lightly go up and down each bar like that. And we're creating that extra glow just within inside the planet at this point. Once that's done, we are then gonna start and add our stars inside this area here, and this area here. So we're gonna go to our layers, we're gonna create another new layer, and we're gonna drag this one in between the black triangle and the blue glow that we just created. And by doing so, it will automatically clip as well. So now we're gonna go to our brush. We're gonna go to calligraphy. We're then gonna make our brush really small around about the 3% mark, and we're gonna go to our colors and double tap on white. And now we're just going to tap, and from here we are just going to tap on the screen to create some stars in these small areas here. Like so. And then we're just going to go to our layer and just turn them down ever so slightly to around about the 40% mark. What I now want to do is go to our layers. We're going to go and create a layer anywhere, because we're just going to drag that layer underneath our black triangle, which is currently the bottom layer, and let go of that there. It will unclip, and this is our very background layer for the moment. And from here, we're going to do almost exactly the same as we did with the inner glow. We're going to tap on our colors and go to the light blue. We're going to go to our brush library. We're going to select airbrush and the soft brush. And from here, we're going to draw around the outside around about 30%. Really lightly, we're going to go across those bars with the blue. And we're starting to build up some of the background color of the glow of the neon. And I've tried to keep my balance slightly stronger towards the top. And we're going to go to our layers. We're going to create one more new layer. We're going to go to our color picker. We're going to select the bright pink. And we're just going to try a little bit of pink just up and underneath the top there. Now at this point you could leave the design, but what we're going to do is we're going to reflect this design upside down and then give it a nice reflective surface to sit on. So we're going to go to our layers now, and we are going to group all of these layers together. So we're going to scroll up to the top. So we're going to select layer 10, and every layer underneath we're going to swipe to the right hand side, which will also change it to blue, which means that we've selected that layer. And we're going to select every single layer that we want to group together all the way down to the final blue color, excluding the background color. And then you just simply tap on group, scroll back up to the top. If you press this little arrow here, it will collapse the group and all of those layers are nicely organized in a folder. So now that all our layers are grouped together, we're going to swipe on that group and we're going to duplicate it. Doing so duplicates the group and every layer in it. And then we're going to go to our new group at the top, we're going to tap on it and we're going to go flatten. So now all the layers that we did have are in just one layer that we're going to use as the reflection. So I'm now going to zoom out ever so slightly and we're going to go to our cursor tool at the top. And then from here, we're flipping the flattened layer. So we're going to go to flip vertical. I'm going to zoom out because we need to drag that down into position where we want it, where you can even make sure the points link up at the bottom. I'm going to give a little bit of space. I'm going to go to freeform because I want to flatten it down horizontally ever so slightly. And this part of the process just requires you to sort of drag it into the position you want it to sit in. And I tend to just use the freeform to just sort of flatten that down because it's in a flat surface underneath. So we're just going to go to around about there and tap on our cursor. So I've left a little bit of a gap and then we've got the sort of floor, so it makes it look like this is also floating. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to our adjustments. We're going to hit Gaussian Blur and we're going to go layer, because now we're going to blur this bottom reflection out. And I'm going to go around about 10% for that one. And now it's currently too strong, so we're going to go to our layers. We're going to still continue on that same layer and tap on the normal, but we're going to drop the opacity down here and bring it down to around about that 40% mark. Now what I also want to do is blur this out towards the edge as well. I don't want it to sit right up against the edge of the photo. So we're going to go to our layers. We're going to tap on that exact same layer still. We're going to go to mask. And again, we're going to mask this out rather than erase it, just in case we want to change it at all in the future. So we're going to go to our layers and make sure we're selected on the layer mask. You'll notice because the two blues, whichever one's the brighter one is the one you're working on. We're going to go to our brush library. We're going to go to soft brush and we are going to zoom in and we're just going to fade out this bottom edge until it's black at the bottom and fades upwards towards that point, like so. Now the final point that I want to add in here is I just want to add some sort of reflection or glow here on the floor, so it just adds a bit more to the piece. So we're going to go to our layers now. We're going to create a new layer. We're going to drag this one underneath our group as well, so it's right at the very bottom. We're going to go to our color picker and we're going to select the blue that we used for the neon glow. We're going to go to our soft airbrush, and what we're going to do is we're just going to, with the brush around about the 30–40% mark, going to tap in the middle of the screen once and it will create a glow. But we're going to transform that into a different shape by using the cursor icon, and we're going to place it in the bottom left hand corner. I'm going to drag it out horizontally. I'm going to bring it down slightly, and I'm going to use the Distort tool. I'm going to bring these 2 points in ever so slightly, like so, like that. And then we're going to go to freeform one more time and just flatten that out a bit more, like that. Now that glow's a little bit too strong, so we're just going to go to our settings. We're going to go to the layer options by tapping on the N and just lower that down to around about that 35% mark. And that gives us a nice sort of reflective floor there as well. You'll notice I've just adjusted my camera settings so that you can see the exact same glow that I've got in mine as well, so you don't overdo it with the glow. It's quite easily done to make the glows too strong, and then it's just a bit overkill. You want to keep them kind of subtle. It gives the same impression either way. And that is it for this neon style tutorial. Thank you for watching, and if you have created this along with me, be sure to send me a DM on Instagram. If you add it to your story on Instagram, I'll share it to mine as well. If you haven't already, please go and follow me on TikTok and Instagram. They both get daily content. If you're interested in purchasing any of my designs, they're also available on my Etsy store. I now also have a TeePublic link as well, where you can buy any of my designs as hoodies, t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, and loads more. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.